Hey everyone, Jessika Phillips here, and super honored to have you join me as we dive into how to get past the gatekeeper on LinkedIn. So chances are you are here at this Agora Pulse social summit focused on LinkedIn for one of two reasons. One, it's because we love Agora Pulse. Let's be honest. They are amazing and super honored that they would have me for this presentation along with a list of all these other super smarties and offering it all up to us for free. So not only am I helping participate in it, but I'm also going to be watching back these videos as well so I can soak up as much information as I can. Because the second reason that we are all here most likely is that we're looking to grow professionally, whether that's increasing our personal brand using LinkedIn, growing our sales on our company pages, looking at LinkedIn for recruiting. But we know that LinkedIn literally means business. When it comes to social platforms, there's really not any comparison or competition that stacks up to LinkedIn when it comes to getting business done. So my goal here today is to help you get past the gatekeeper and do just that on LinkedIn, to get business done, to make those connections like never before and really use LinkedIn the way that was intended to truly enhance your relationships with others. So I'm going to share my screen as we dive in and why I'm super excited to have this topic today on LinkedIn. Because, okay, look, I get it. You're probably going to be listening in and probably already have listened in to a ton of amazing talks. Like I said, I'm super stoked to go watch them as well. That's going to be diving down into the nitty-gritty on how to enhance your profile and how to set up, the perfect LinkedIn ads and all of these topics that are amazing. My goal and what I want to bring to you today is not about the tool, but it's about our technique and how we show up to this platform to truly connect authentically, because that's what I'm all about. My personal mission is to inspire people to love more, give more, and be more within their business and their personal life through the art of authentic relating, meaning getting past all the fluff stuff and the sales pitches and realizing at the end of the day, business is done people to people, but truly can connect and can relate on a more meaningful level. So my goal is to help you use LinkedIn to connect, to authentically relate with others and make sure that you are representing your brand, yourself, and your team in a light that is going to be attractive to those that you want to attract. So there's so many channels out there. I know there's so many tips that you're probably going to be learning today and really having to soak it all in. I mean, if we look online on LinkedIn or any social channel, there is a sea of content. And it's also a sea of information on what you should do. Do this tactic, that tactic. Use this tool for publishing your post. Use this tool for designing your post. And it's super confusing and overwhelming if we're not sure really getting back to the basics on what we're showing up to do. So I want you to take all the tools, all the cheat codes and everything out of your mind for just a minute. And let's get back to the basics of what it takes to truly authentically relate to someone else in order to start building that relationship where you get invited into the inbox. I'm going to share some examples from some clients as well as ourselves and a workbook at the end so you can take this approach that I'm talking about and apply it directly to your brand. Because I firmly believe that relationships will always be more powerful than marketing. So no matter how great our marketing message sounds or looks, at the end of the day, if people don't care about what you have to say, and if it's not believable, then it's still going to fall flat. And unfortunately, relationships and community is that one thing that's not for sale. So it's something that we do have to work at our core and start from the inside, working our way out in order to genuinely, authentically connect, authentically relate. And that's where authentically comes from, right? Like we really truly have to think about it this way. So if one of your goals, for example, is growing your following on LinkedIn and you're like, man, our business just isn't getting enough visibility. We really want to grow our followers on our page. Or maybe it's you've got a lot of followers, but they're not converting. Here's the mindset shift of focusing on the relationship side of it. We're going to, instead of thinking of just followers, we're going to take our followers and only bring in the ones that we know will convert to true fans of ours. So not just clicking the follow button or the connect with us on our personal profile button just to have another connection that gets them over that 500, right? Or so many followers on your LinkedIn company page, but true fans that are willing to advocate for you, that are excited about what you have to share, wanting to share it on, wanting to come to your defense if somebody's asking about, what social media management app should they use? For example, Agorapulse has this down pat. They have some true fans, including myself, that are willing to advocate for them and to go out on a limb and say, hey, you should choose Agorapulse because I'm a customer and I love this, this, and this. And really, that's kind of the next thing, because once your followers become true fans, many of them, hopefully, those fans aren't just friends of yours. They're friends of yours. That's great if they are. But our hope is also, instead of just connecting with our clients on LinkedIn and asking them for recommendations and giving them recommendations, well, that's all well and good. But we want to turn our clients into true advocates for us. Advocates that are willing to give us that recommendation freely, but also share it with someone else in need and truly refer us on. I'm going to share an example of one of our clients, PPI, that we managed their LinkedIn page and how that led into 3 additional, sales for us because our client turned into our advocate for us. The next is your community members into collaborators. So what do I mean by community? It's other brands that align with you. So if you're following other companies on LinkedIn and maybe the individuals that work at that company, looking at ways that if there's some synergy behind your 2 brands, how you can collaborate together with them. For example, I'm here showing up on this summit for Agorapulse because I'm part of their community. I love what they're doing. They've supported many of my events, and I want to show up and support theirs because they are truly aligned with what I believe at my brand core and what the agency that I own believes about relationship marketing, how you should treat people. So I want to collaborate with them freely because they are aligned with that ideal as well. And then our team members into evangelists for us. Team members are the ones that are probably going to be the most active with your end user, your end client, right? Your leads that are coming in. They're probably the ones meeting with those customers and showing up. So we want to make sure that if done right, and we really have this starting from the inside out thing, right? Meaning that we're focusing on getting back to the basics of who we are at our company core, then our team members will be evangelists, not just team members, and not feel like they're forced to have to publish on LinkedIn because we told them to do so. They genuinely want to, they genuinely want to share out the content and get involved. And then it has this ripple effect where our brand starts growing. So it's truly stopping our mindset from just thinking, how can we get a sale, getting people to buy from us, buy, to how can we create this brand identity in this culture that is allowing people to belong with us, not just buy from us. That's the big shift that will then help us to allow our customers to care about what we have to say, as well as us to care for our customers. Now, CARE is an acronym. It breaks down to capturing attention, articulating our message, relationship focused, and exceptional experiences. When we focus on each of these elements, not only are we capturing attention, we're drawing the right audience into us, we're articulating our message in a clear way where others understand what it is that we do, who we help, how we show up to do that. We're building real relationships with them so we can grow that repeat and referral business. And then we're handling exceptional experiences time and time again with the people that we currently serve. So now they're giving us great reviews. They're referring us on more often. And it's this never-ending cycle of marketing and relationships that we're building with the audiences that we serve so we can have sustainable long-term growth that is earned, not just purchased, right? So it's really changing our mindset of starting from what's on the inside, not just looking at marketing and social media as looking all beautiful and using these fancy tools, but really getting to the heart of what are we trying to do? Who are we at our core, right? So if you start to take a peek at that for your brand and say, okay, what kind of tone of voice do I want to display online? Who do I want to attract into our channels? Who is our true fans, or who could be our true fans? Who is our best advocates of clients that we serve? Who should we have as our community evangelist? If you're taking a look inside and you're kind of coming up empty, it's a great time to revisit that maybe as a team if you're working on a team. And get back to the basics, right? And I have a workbook at the end that will walk you through that process with your team. But it's really sitting down together and saying, what is our business known for? How do we want to make people feel? Listing some adjectives out there. What are some things that we believe as an organization? Because then now you're starting to create this tone and this personality around your brand. I like to call it the brand manifesto too, that you can write out and create. It's a lot different than a mission statement, a tagline, any of that stuff. The brand manifesto is what's going to be the defining personality and declaration for your organization that's going to allow you to start creating this personality and this identity. And that's what's going to attract people in. So brand manifesto, you can Google literally brand manifesto. I know we only have 30 minutes here, so I won't have enough time to walk through the whole creation process, but I do have a lot of it in the workbook. And I want to share an example of a brand manifesto with you. So this is Now Marketing Groups. Now, granted, we are a marketing agency. We could, a tagline or a mission statement may say something about marketing and how we build websites and all of that, right? Like if you Google brand manifestos, you'll see Apple's and Levi's, there's Whole Foods. There's some really amazing manifestos out there, and you'll notice some similarities between all of them. None of them mention the product or the service in this declaration. It's truly what they're there to do. So here's ours, for example. In the heart of every business lies a story, a vision for the future written long before any transaction takes place. Great businesses are focused on culture led by their visionaries who truly get the power of relationships, built on a foundation of passion, integrity, and hard work. At times, it simply takes a partner that aligns with their ideals, marrying their willingness to do the work necessary to drive their vision into reality, choosing to do what's right, not what's easy. Brands are felt long before they're seen. We're defined by the relationships with the community, clients, and the teams we serve. Together, we generate the ideas that get people talking and the results that keep your business growing. We are fueled by relationships, driven by results, and a catalyst for creativity. We're Now Marketing Group, your partners in digital. This kind of message, right? I love it, of course, but it's not like we're blasting it out to everyone. We're not sharing this manifesto oh, look at us, we're so heart-centered, and hey, let's have a drinking game to see how many times we say relationships in there. But it's truly getting to the core of who we are as an organization. Because once you lay this out for yourself, and once we lay that out as our personality and our core of what we're truly here to do, then it all starts making sense. And what I mean by that, it starts making sense on what kinds of content you want to show up with, how you're going to show up in a way that is focused on serving, not just selling. And a magic thing happens when this shift takes place. You start using your marketing as a magnet that attracts the right people in that stick with you longer, versus getting to this frenzy where it's constant push out more content, connect harder, direct in people's inboxes and try to land meetings. And it's constant bullhorn, say that 5 times fast, messaging to where people get turned off. They don't want to have this loud thing in their ear. But when you're showing up in a way that resonates with them, when you're connected with your tribe, they're drawn into it and they're going to stick with you longer. And this starts through everything, threads through everything that you're doing within your organization. So it has to be something, when you're getting back to the basics, starting from the inside out, that you're listing as a team, creating this manifesto, and don't just hang it on your wall and then forget about it, but bring your whole team involved. In fact, hopefully your team is all part of a culture that embodies what has been created as your manifesto, because there's no way of faking it, right? You are who you are at your core, and people can easily recognize that when they're checking out a company, because typically they'll check out one team member and then go to another and see what kind of consistency and clarity and conviction that they can see about that brand. So it can even be something that you're using to hire against, right? Can this new team member fit within our culture? Do they embody what we passionately believe? And are they going to show up in a way that's truly caring for our customer, so our customer cares for us? And our customer meaning who do we want to connect with? We have to get specific on that too. Because if we're showing up with this manifesto and I'm, talking all about relationships and who I'm here to serve and how we want to partner with, passionate visionaries who truly understand the power of relationships and focus on their team members and community, it's probably not going to gel well with a company that's just focused on numbers, that wants to sell, and they don't care about churn. Their team members are just cogs in a wheel. Not that they're going to say that, but if they're just a numbers-based organization that's kind of has this bureaucracy kind of set up, they're not going to gel well with us, right? Like the cultures are going to collide. And what's going to happen is we are never going to be able to satisfy their need. So there's no sense me or anyone is showing up using our time, energy, and efforts on marketing messages on LinkedIn or trying to build relationships with someone that's not really ever going to truly connect long-term with our organization. So it's super important that you define who that is next. So now we have our manifesto. Now we need to define who is our audience, who are we here to serve? Because when you get super specific on it, now not only do we know the tone of voice that we want to show up with in our content, now we know who we want to create it for. Like who's going to be on the other end of the screen that's going to be reading those messages? Who are we trying to get into the inbox of? Like who is our gatekeepers, right? Like defining who that gatekeeper is and who is the person that we're trying to get to behind the gatekeeper that is really going to paint a picture of their personality, their struggles, what they're into, right? It allows us to create real relationships now with people, real people, not just, hey, name, and then the spam message in the inbox, but real people, like checking them out, right? Like building empathy with them, as well as getting specific on what we're talking about. Because there's nothing worse than just acting like you're there to serve everyone and people can tell it's phony and false, and you don't want to waste your time getting into an inbox of someone that's just going to really be turned off by your friendship. You really have to then, after you have this put into place, the manifesto, your personas, now you know how you're going to show up with your tone, right? Like you have to make a plan. How often are we going to be posting? What kinds of content are we going to be posting? Where are we going to be posting it? And how is this leading to our big picture of our end goal? Whether your goal is booking appointments, getting more people to your website, if you're using LinkedIn for recruiting and you're trying to highlight your company culture, like what is your end wins? Spelling those wins out will then let you know what kinds of content to create, who's going to be creating it, how often, what you're measuring the success of your LinkedIn for. Because you don't just want fluffy stuff that's like not believable. You're just like, I think you're great. I think all of this is going good. We want to have real numbers that we're measuring against. And the last thing that you want to do is just use some cheat codes, if you will, and try to share things on LinkedIn just to get mass likes. That's going to burn you at the end of the day. And I'll show you what I mean by that here in a minute. Because 2020 not only is experience the number one deciding factor on if somebody's going to choose one brand over another. And as I said, there's so many brands out there to choose from anymore, no matter what kind of industry you're in. But 2020 has also had a couple other things happen. One, the toilet paper scenario, right? Like we're all desperate for that. We're all like Elaine and Seinfeld. But the other big thing that has rose in 2020 and is only going to be on the increase is dark social. And what I mean by that is now we know what we're going to be talking about. We know who we are at our core. We know who we're showing up to target. This is all well and good to build those relationships, but here's why it's even more important. Dark social is a lot different than the dark web. What dark social is the conversations that are happening about your brand by others, whoever they are, that you cannot track because they're happening in private channels and communities, whether that's messenger groups, LinkedIn groups, Facebook groups, text messaging, email, any kind of private niche community, WhatsApp, there's several of them out there, but whether it be social channels or even just, analog kind of marketing where they're sending it via email. 86% of our traffic right now this year so far is coming from dark social. It's starting from dark social. And why this matters is not so much because we can't track it. I mean, it is let's be honest, it is a struggle and a pain point, because if we see this traffic coming into our website, we're not sure where it's coming from. We're not sure how to invest our time, our money to get to our goal, right? At sometimes, because we're like, man, where should we spend our ad dollars? Where is it coming from? Where are these conversations generated from? But really, the biggest concern that we should be focused on, again, is going back to not the tool and how we're going to measure it, whether we're going to use Google, codes on there, UTM codes, or if we're going to use a third-party tool, because you can use some of those to track a little bit of this. But it's more so focused on the conversations that are being had about our website and about our brand, I should say, that leads to our website. That's important. We want to make sure that those conversations are good, and that what's being talked about our brand in these private niche channels are something that will lead to something good. And the only way to do that is to have a really good relationship with your audience, your team members, your community. That's why all of this is so important, and leads back to starting from the inside, working out. I get fired up about this stuff. So let me know, are you guys using Messenger more than ever before? Like, are you using private, more niche community channels? Dark social media has been on a huge rise with Messenger, Facebook groups, WhatsApp, WeChat, like TikTok, even like just smaller, more intimate communities, Voxer, things like that, because it's kind of taking us back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs of belonging. People want to belong, and they want to feel connected to that community that they belong to. They don't want to just participate in the noise. So we as brands, if we can create that community of belonging, it takes us back to really not about what we do, but how we do it. That's really going to make all the difference, because we're creating this environment that is allowing our audience to feel comfortable and authentic with us as our brand. And that way, as they are having conversations, hopefully we're being invited into them. But even if we're not, because we've set the stage that they can feel connected to us, then we feel more confident about what they're saying, and those private channels could and will be beneficial at the end of the day. And I'm not just talking, I know some people are thinking, wait, I'm a B2B business. I don't know how to get all warm and fuzzy and fluffy like that. I promise you, the companies that we work with are super niche B2B type organizations. We work with Nuclear Pharmacy that sells to hospitals, to Mr. Manhole that drills a hole in the ground, PPI, the client I'm going to show you here in a moment, where they create plastic molds to create like the plastic parts and some of the healthcare tools that they're using. Like, yeah, you can do it with any industry, I promise you. It doesn't just have to be a personal brand. It can be something as niche as that, as well as an e-commerce company that's selling to thousands of people. You don't have to be a small business. The clients that we work with are medium-sized companies. Some of them are bigger, but it's really kind of focusing in on knowing who we are, knowing who we're showing up to serve, knowing why we're doing it, and then delivering the goods. So now it's coming to what you're sharing out and how you decide to share it. So once you get that tone down, it's easy. What we do, and I'll show you our example, we start with writing out posts for clients that we're managing their page, and we start out with 30 posts for the month. We write out our post, and we truly focus on how are we adding value, how are we building community, how are we highlighting our team and our clients. That's going to go back to building that advocacy, like I talked about, and our team members to be evangelists, all of those things. And then we go back and read them. And we say, here's the elements of a good social post. First, it's personalized. So it's made for our ideal audience. It is communicating to them directly. So if I'm creating a guide on how to create social posts, I would want to create a guide for social posts for manufacturing. Like, how do you use social for manufacturing? That's a lot more specific than just social posts. And maybe I'm talking about a personal profile, right? That wouldn't resonate with them. So you get specific, you can get personalized with it. Open-ended, leave opportunity for people to respond back. Engagement is king on here. And that, once you get the conversation started, it's way more important than just getting a like on that post. So getting that conversation started will allow you to open doors to even more engagement, not only with that same individual that's engaged with you, but their community as well. The S stands for style, putting your own style to it, your own tone that you have for your brand, right? Like getting back to who you are, not making it vanilla. Somebody should not be able to take one of your posts and put it for another company and it still sound okay, right? Like it should sound like your brand in that tone of voice that you set when you're creating your brand manifesto and tone. And then the T in post that you want to make sure the elements of good social post is all about being timely and relevant. So we've had a lot of things so far in 2020 that would definitely stand out if we sounded tone deaf into what's going on, right? So you want to make sure that even if you're prepping your stuff in advance, that you follow the post framework. This will allow us, again, to use care, just simply caring a little bit more of what we're putting out. Granted, we're not saving lives on LinkedIn, but we may just save some sales and business and build some relationships along the way, because using this care approach will allow us to, again, build in that targeted community that we're using our existing audience, our existing community and team members that are going to stick with us longer. And what's happening is if they're sharing us on more often in that dark social and they're referring us out and they're inviting us into the conversation, what's going to happen is the momentum is going to grow, and this is going to turn into a flywheel effect for your sales versus us just needing to feel like we have to go out and search for a new lead after a new lead, right? Like our audience becomes part of our marketing army. Really, they are our marketing army, and it makes our message bigger than our product or service. It's that sense of belonging that we can create. So here's the workbook that I have for you where you can do this and start this on your own, because I know that's a lot we covered in a short amount of time. bit.ly/care more. It is case sensitive, and feel free to download this. It's free. You can use it to start building this own process for you. Now I want to get into a couple things. Again, I'm not going to talk as much about the tools as I am the technique, but I want to show you a couple different things on the LinkedIn pages that really make a huge difference. So first is your company page. The first thing with your company page, of course, getting it filled out. I'm sure there's plenty of talks on how you maximize this, but the big things that I've seen that's made all the difference is the types of content, one, that we're sharing out that's getting the engagement. And one of those is we use what's called the 10-4-1 rule. So 10 out of every 15 posts, so 10-4-1, 15, 10 out of every 15 posts, we're using third-party posts that come from their community, their audience, where we can highlight them and share value-added information for our audience. So if you're not sure what that is yet, LinkedIn, I love on the company pages now, you can go to the content section here, add in some topics. So let's just say they're making up some suggestions here. But if we, I need to grab more topics in here, but if you put in topics and chose that you want to see every one of your page followers that has created this type of content topic, then it will feed in here. And it's a great way of kind of creating this list of content that you can share from, right? So you can check all of these. And now, granted, this is all LinkedIn members, but I would prefer to do it, with your team members and all of that. And you can get specific on location, and even job level and seniority. And then here's some content already kind of preloaded for you potentially to share that would be relevant to your audience. That is a huge win. The other thing that we do on company pages is, let me go back here toward 10. The 4 out of every 15 posts is a blog share or a helpful piece of content that we created. So many times it's a resource that could be a video, a quick tip, how to, explaining, like, for example, with PPI, when everything hit with COVID, they were talking about how the import-export is going to change quite a bit as it relates to, plastics because of crude oil and things like that. Yeah, this is the kind of stuff I could write about all the time. But we're writing a blog on that, being timely, again, writing it to their ideal audience, and then we can share those kinds of blogs onto their social channels. Also, sharing their team members, highlighting them, right? Whether that's in a social post on your page itself, or even if you're just taking your profile and then going to their profile and giving them some endorsement love, right? Like endorsing their skill sets, sharing some kudos with them. LinkedIn has built in so many opportunities for you to give some team members some love, as well as your community members and or your clients, that it's right there. It's open for the relationship building. It's really built in and super easy to do. So you can do that. The third thing that we do is that 10-4-1 rule. Is the one is it can be your soft sales pitch, right? So this could be, and it's still not like, hey, buy from us. But what we do on this is offer up a value added download that we're like, hey, here's, a way that you can, do more with less. And we give them a download on their page where then they're just converting to become part of their workflow, if you will, because they're trading in their name and their email in exchange for that value-added download. The sales pitch could look like something like join our webinar, or in Agora Pulse's case, promoting this event, even though it's free. The whole key is bringing people in closer to become not just a follower, but become a true fan, right? They're coming closer to your organization. So it's a great way of doing it. And I really love also what LinkedIn has put out. And let me get to my channel here with Now Marketing Group. And what we've been able to do here is, like, when we put out a new blog or something like that, you're able to notify your team members. Now, I've already done this today with a new blog, but you can notify your team that something new is out. This is a great way of building in that engagement. Again, you can do this up to one time per admin per day, and let your team members know that something new is out. And again, we don't want to force our team to do it, but if they're excited and want to connect and share more content out, and just maybe aren't getting those updates because LinkedIn, although it's this amazing where business is done social platform, people don't often spend as much time on the platform kind of reading through this home news feed, right? They'll go a little bit, but they don't go on and browse as long as some others do. So that's some really quick tips on how to get into the inbox. I'm going to show you how we break this down too with their team. So we have our 10-4-1 kind of spelled out here, and then we'll write out our social post just in a generic Google Doc, low tech, draft way to write it out. And then we will design it, put that little style on there, reread it to make sure it follows the post guidelines. And then we provide this content to their team members. We don't want every single team member to be posting and sharing. If they want us to post on their behalf, or if you want your team members to post on and you're giving them content to share, make sure that there's some kind of schedule to where not all your team members are posting the same thing on the same day, because then that's going to be like incredibly noticeable, right? But you do want to provide some resources and some information that potentially they can share or that you can post out for them. So we rotate between their team members and we share out their content. And what's really cool about it, so here's another example of one of our clients, but with PPI, what happened is we are writing for one of our clients here, and Honda reached out to her and said, man, I love what you're doing on LinkedIn. And thankfully she read the post and approved them before we had shared them out. But Honda reached out to her and said, we love the post that you're sharing out on LinkedIn. Man, tell us how you do such a good job. And what happened then is, because of this and because they were paying attention to what PPI is doing, which PPI is granted, it's a larger company as far as revenue and client base is concerned, but in a very, very small town of Kenton, Ohio, very similar to Lime, Ohio, where I live. And so standing out to a big corporation like that was huge for her. And then what did she do after she said thank you and really started building a relationship with him? And she referred us on to them. The same thing can happen for you, and it doesn't have to just be because you're doing their social channels for them, but it could be just something where you are showing up in a way where you're providing great information, and maybe it's even sharing out from somebody else. So like, for example, I got some questions privately in my inbox about this LinkedIn summit. I was able to share the link directly with this individual for them to sign up. And now hopefully this individual is going to find a lot of value in what this summit will provide. And that value is now an experience that this individual will have, and it reflects positively back on our relationship together. So it's a really great way to continue using social the way that was intended for conversations, really to enhance that relationship with each other and making sure that you're personalizing it. So just the other couple quick tips, and I'm sure many of the other presenters will cover this, but another couple quick tips I like to do for our audience is sorry, I didn't mean to click on your message, Quentin, is use it for just communicating personalized one-to-one communication, not for spamming. I completely cannot stand the draft, spam messages that come in that are not personalized. I will immediately unfollow someone or block them or remove them. But when we can use it in a way, which Kathy and I just realized we weren't connected on here, we're connected everywhere else. Love her to death. But when we start communicating back and forth, and what I've done with others when I communicate back and forth with them is use audio messages, personalize some different things that's going on. I'll tell you a quick story about this contact. So this gentleman I met at Social Media Marketing World, and he attended the presentation, reached out to me and was like, hey, I really like what you have to offer. I'm really interested potentially in your services. And I was like, great, thank you so much. I'm really interested, in meeting with you too. I sent him a link to book a time to chat. We had a great meeting. And then right after that, COVID hit. So I could be checking in with him all the time, asking him, you ready to, buy for me? Are you ready to buy for me? But instead, I'm just reaching out to him and checking in to making sure he's doing well. He sent me audio messages back. We've stayed in conversation. And this has started in March. So when he is ready to purchase, hopefully we've built up a rapport where he knows I'm not just trying to sell him. I'm trying to connect with him and build a relationship no matter what. So even if he doesn't ever get to the point where he can use our service, he still has a good relationship with us and wants to refer us on. So bringing this back 360, speaking of 360, check out Stephanie Lou. Isn't she a rock star? But bringing this back to the beginning and starting from the inside out, it really has to be something that we're setting up first as our whole technique and how we're approaching LinkedIn. All these other tools and the tactics that you're going to hear are amazing, and definitely take that advice. But unless we get our core right, nothing else will matter. None of it will work. It's not going to produce the results for the long-term sustainable growth. So we have to start from the inside out. We have to focus on who our brand is, what we're here to do, who we're here to serve, how we're going to serve them, and show up with clarity, conviction, and consistency to get it done. I promise you that's going to be the way that you grow your business and get past the gatekeeper, not only in 2020 and this dark social crazy, but in the future, because you're going to be invited to that conversation. So I want to hear your questions though. What do you have about getting past the gatekeeper on LinkedIn, and how can I help you? I would love to hear from you. Love to connect with you on LinkedIn, as long as you're not trying to pitch me a sales pitch with, hey, name. I'm just kidding. But no, I want to connect with you, learn more about your business. And I'm so thankful that you took time out to join me here today. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of the summit. I will talk with you soon. Bye-bye.